Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I am the Fuzz, and I'm here to entertain. So the new patch, we're going back to the old ways. 20 life and 40 life win condition. Right now, if you listen really close, you can hear some aggro players rejoice. They can go back to the ways of the face, their most sacred tenets. But anyways, there's some other changes as well. We're gonna go over those real quick. Some of these have already started quite a stir up in the forums. So let's have a look-see. 3 heroes get some changes. Our good buddy Advanced Ash no longer does damage to face, only creatures. This is actually interesting. It's a double-sided sword because on one hand, it was nice to be able to do the damage to the face as sort of a guaranteed way to finish off your opponent. But on the other hand, sometimes you would have little life and thus be prevented from using the ability to save yourself. So I actually kind of like this change. I think it's reasonable, especially with their less life. We don't want more ways to burn the face. Next up, Coronis. The Ravens are now gonna be 1/1s. This was Jodo's idea, I believe, and that's pretty nice because it means the Ravens can immediately attack, even if you don't use the. I mean, even if you do damage on your turn, and if you don't do damage, you're going to get a 1/1 Raven that can attack instead of a 0/1 Raven that can't do anything. So that's nice. And then if you do attack and get damage and you get a 2/2 Raven, that's pretty nice. I think it's a decent change. Not know if it's enough to make him playable, but it's at least enough to make him a consideration. And that's pretty good. Good buddy Enoch. His Blood Feast now also gives HP instead of attack. So now it's +1/1 and then the +1 life for each creature. Yeah, Enoch needed a buff. I don't know if this is enough, although Corruption gets a few other buffs as well. All of them very small, but a couple small buffs could be enough to make a difference. So it probably warrants trying out, see how it works. You know, your ghouls suddenly becoming 4 or 5 and basically killing like Thunderstorm Titans and stuff. And also, because of one of the cards now gives zombies extra speed, this could be interesting. I think it along with the other corruption changes could put zombies on the map, but we'll have to see about that. That's it for the cards. I mean the heroes. Let's look at the cards. There's quite a few. First of all, try Angelica. The ability now costs 5 again from 6. I personally don't care. I didn't really play Angels much, but I'm sure Clone will love this. At 6 it was a little brutal. So now it's slightly easier to win with Angels. Hooray for Angels. Militia. Now this is a big one. So originally his effect was if you control a militia, then any further militias cost 0, which was pretty stupid because it was usually terrible. But on those rare occasions when you drew 3 militias in your opening hand and you played them all along with the hero power, and then the recruiter and then the tactician, it was just a really, really lame way to beat your opponent. Now, if his attack is greater than 1, he gets 1 extra speed. Very interesting. So how can we buff his attack? Well, on one hand, you've got the Master Tactician, which now, by the way, becomes a much better card because all these guys are going to have 2 speed when he hits the board. So that's pretty interesting. Also, Massive Assault. We'll give them all 2 speed on attack. We'll basically transform them into Goblin Warriors. Pretty cool. And also, this also means, by the way, that if you get the Guards card, it could actually make 4 speed Militia. I believe. Hang on, let me just make sure that that's how it works. No, oh, they have 3 speed. Never mind. So it sets their speed to 3. But still. Well, actually, no, it will work because they have +1 speed. Actually, that should work. That'll give them 4 speed militias, lightning fast militias. That's gonna be pretty funny. But anyways, it's a nice change. It makes these possibly usable. I don't know if you'd run them in your deck, but still. Also, Touch of Light, Cavalry Field Captain. Cavalry Field Captain will make them 3 speed now. So that's pretty cool. So, yeah, Militia was a crappy card. Now it's better. Cool. Georghe Silencer. Oh, God. So, at first glance, this looks ridiculously broken. Because now, rather than, canceling cards, it makes your opponent's cards cost more by the amount of energy. So, when you play the Silencer, all of your opponent's cards cost 4 more to play. Yeah, good times. And then when your opponent plays a card, non-shrine of course, Silencer loses 1 energy, and then you lose the Silencer when you have no more energy, and then you draw a card. What? So it replaces itself too? That seems rather unnecessary. But the whole idea is that if you play this on curve, even after New Horizons, your opponent won't have more than like 5 mana, and then he can't play anything, like at all. If he doesn't have a unicorn or something, he basically is completely screwed, unable to act. And what if you follow this up with a red dragon? What the hell does your opponent do then? He just cries. Man, I think this is kind of insane. Basically, the worst case scenario is going to be in mirrors, because whoever gets this out first is going to have a massive advantage, and that's never good. Probably the guy with the spark is going to get there first, or whoever gets more New Horizons, so I don't like this version. I mean, I like the idea of making your opponent's cards cost more, but 4 more? That's ridiculous. Best case scenario is your opponent has to play a 6 mana unicorn to kill it, or Gnome Power Engineer, and so basically lose their whole turn most of the time. And that's best case scenario. Unless their name is Advanced Despina and they take one from your deck. But otherwise, yeah, I kind of don't like this. But we'll have to see. It's gonna be pretty funny to try this out. But if you play this and then a red dragon, what the fuck does your opponent do about it? Like, the dragon is impossible to kill. Oh, whatever. Primordial Treant, you are now able to use the ability anytime you want, and not just at, whatever, was it at the start of turn? I don't really care. The card is still awful because it doesn't have Unstoppable and has no way to gain Unstoppable. It doesn't matter how big it is. It has 1 speed, so I appreciate them trying to buff it, but this card needs to gain Unstoppable back and then make it 1 might counter instead of 2. Fae of Charm. My lady, you have been stolen from me. So when I saw this, I realized my Hermelian Neva deck is dead now because this costs 3 mana instead of 2. You know what that means? That means you can't instill it anymore. Yep, can't instill it. That really blows. And you cannot search for it with Call of Julia. So that sucks ass for my deck. I can understand the idea because it was a really dangerous card. Now, oh, by the way, it does have one new thing. It now disables the powers of the creature that you take. So you can take a Guardian of the Faithful and not have it wipe your entire board. Or like a red dragon, and your opponent won't be able to use the dragon fire to like kill your stuff. So that's pretty cool, but still 3 mana and 3 aspect for a 1/1 creature is rather pricey, even if the creature is as good as this one. This also means that the advanced Reverence turns, advanced Neva turns are going to be a little bit weaker. You can't play like Fae as easily before. I can understand why they did this, even if I'm going to be sad for my Hermelian deck. But whatever, right? Sorry, Fae of Charm. I don't even know if... Nah, it's still probably playable because it's just too strong of an effect. You just won't play that many of them. Maybe just 2 now. And my Hermelian deck probably can't play it at all. Probably not. Or it would have to play 4, but... The thing is, for this amount of mana, you can just use the hero power instead. That's probably better, so nah, whatever. Lizard Barbarian. Oh, we're moving on to the rage changes. There have been actually only 3. But still, Lizard Barbarian is now a 1/2, and it gains 1 attack when it is attacking, but it is now able to attack creatures. So it's actually a little bit better because you can potentially kill like Grove Guardians and stuff. And you can actually kill Theo with this, which is pretty funny. The problem is in the mirror. If you play this turn 1, your opponent cannot play a Barbarian because yours will attack for 2 and kill his. And that sucks really bad. So if you open Barbarian, your opponent can't do much, actually. If he plays a Goblin Warrior, that's what Fia is for. So I'm kind of not liking this change. I mean, I know why they did this, to take away so that Rage doesn't have 2 attack 1-drops, but the thing is, this still basically has 2 attack. It's only weaker on defense, but what's going to attack into it and kill it at this early on? A Zombie Legionnaire could kill it, I guess, if you give it 1 speed. Or if basic Nefaros slow this down. I guess, yeah, but not much else. And the fact that that the Barbarians can now kill each other, and the fact that they can trade with Goblins if they need to, makes them a much better creature. So, not thrilled. Fireball now costs 3 mana! I was actually thinking about what changes Rage should take, and my foremost idea was Fireball is ridiculously powerful and needs a nerf, and here it is. 3 mana instead of 2. Now, at first glance, I thought, now it's completely unplayable, but then I collected myself and realized, no, what am I thinking? It is still very good, because, yes, it's 3 mana, but it can kill creatures that cost 3 mana or even 4 mana, so it's fine, and it is an instant. So the way I see it, the card is still very much playable. The only difference is, like, mega aggressive rage decks probably won't use it anymore, because they're not going to spend 3 mana to kill, like, one thing. Their advantage was they fireball a creature for 2, and then for the last 1 mana, they play like a lizard or something, and they gain tempo ahead of you because they fireballed your library guards or something. Now they can't do that anymore, so they might just not play it at all, actually. And that's good. That means Rage will become a little weaker because Fireball was great. But other Rage decks, I think, will still run this because it's still, you know, okay, 3 mana, then you kill their 3-drop, whatever the hell it was. So it's a fine change. The card was incredible. Ramjack is now 3 mana. This is interesting because it was Georghe who was telling me that he thinks this card is overpowered, or was in its current form, and I think he was somewhat right. It was basically a Dragonfire that left behind a creature or 2, so yeah. Now it's a little bit more expensive to pull off, which is pretty fair. Ramjack is still quite good because it does 5 damage, or 7 if you have Massive Assault, and it leaves behind a continuous threat that your opponent has to deal with, so pretty fair change. And actually, because of this change, Rage decks might now go to Flame Serpent for their 5 damage needs, because this now takes 1 more turn, whereas Flame Serpent is available much sooner. Even though you lose it, it's more like a Dragonfire, but it is still cheaper, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how the Rage decks come out. I don't think Aggro Rage is dead by any means. Not at all. It's just, it's a little bit less ridiculous. And that's fine. Next up, Gross Experiment. I am giving my sincere thanks to the developers because I was on the verge of making a video about how much I hate this card. Not even kidding. Just because of how random this crap was. You play it and then it's overcharger, and your opponent loses the game. Well, stupid. Now, okay, it starts out on support, so it goes in the back row, but honestly, this whole support thing is pointless because you can just move the creature to any row you want. But the effect, when you attach an implant to him, he goes to the front and you draw a card. Now, the reason this is... Now, I haven't actually tested this, but based on the wording, this means that when it goes to the front, it is able to attack. Whereas when you normally put it to the front, you know, it can't attack. So this way, it actually is an interesting threat. And you draw a card. So this might encourage some implant decks. I don't know if it's enough alone, but it's a start. And I like that it doesn't have that RNG aspect to it. And the extra card draw? It is definitely an interesting card to consider when we get more implants. Hopefully, eventually we do. And then this card will actually be pretty interesting. Good change, developers. I like this. Chalice of Yunks. The developers themselves even said how annoying they think this card is, and everybody agreed because playing against chalices, basically, if you don't have artifact removal, you lose the game. Because you can't stop it. They pump it up to 3, 4, and then they're getting like 4 life, 5 life, 6 life every turn, and you just can't do anything about it. Now, it costs 1 mana instead of 3. Okay, that's fair. I mean, that's good. 2 less mana is pretty good in general. But now the effect is a lot different. You now only gain the energy when the creature you control dies instead of you sacrificing any number you want. Although that doesn't really change much since most of the time the way Chalice was powered up was with like spells and stuff, not with like actually sacrificing creatures. You just would use Astral Dive, Thalmic Laboratory, and all this stuff. But now the abilities pay 2 mana and then, you know, ZZZ it, and then you empty the Chalice, you know, get rid of the energy, and you gain that much life. So you only gain that life once. So each energy you gain, each creature you lost is only 1 life. So it is considerably weaker than before. Is it even playable? Well, considering that the only reason to even play it in the past was to just win in a really obnoxious way, since you can't do that anymore with this Chalice, I don't see if it gets played at all. Because you play this and then, okay, let's say 6 creatures died throughout the game and you got an extra 6 life, I guess. Maybe it's not terrible, but I'm not really sure what kind of deck would even use it. Maybe it could be helpful as an anti-aggro tool. I just don't think it's very impressive. Like, nah. Anyways, Cataclysm now costs 5 mana. That's pretty fair. I mean, aggro is not more powerful, so, you know, control decks need a way to deal with it. And 1 less mana Cataclysm. It's still better than it being 4. It actually, like, you know, costs some mana to play. This was originally what I thought they were gonna make it when the first big patch came out, so I don't actually mind it too much. 5, 6, whatever. Haunted Cemetery now costs only 1 corruption and 1 general. This should have been this way from the start. There was no reason why it costs 2 corruption, but now it's okay. Cool, that's nice. Midnight Cravings. This card has been completely changed. It is no longer complete trash. That's pretty good news, right? So 2 mana, 1 aspect, instant. That's good. Up to 2 zombies you control get 1 attack and 1 speed until end of turn. So the 1 speed part is very, very important, because now your zombie legionnaire can become a 3/2 with 2 speed. Or your zombie, what's it called, the necromancer becomes a 3/3 with 3 speed and deadly. Ghoul becomes a 4/4 with 3 speed. Can kill a Haldiri. Can kill a Guardian. Interesting card. It's a lot better than the previous one because it has no requirements. Yes, it's only 2 zombies, but you're not going to need more than that. So, I mean, this could be interesting. Combined with the new Enoch, which also gives health now. You know, armies of zombie legionnaires could become pretty interesting. And now if you play a zombie legion, actually if you play a legionnaire and your opponent plays a lizard, you play this and you can kill it. And, you know, that's decent, right? That's something. So I actually like this new card. The previous version was completely useless. This version is actually somewhat, you can consider playing it, and that's good. We don't want any cards to be useless. We want cards that are at least good enough to be considered. And that one is. So yeah, I look forward to trying this out. Splitting Headache now costs 3 mana instead of 2. I mean, I understand why they wanted to do something about it, because the whole discarding idea is annoying. Mesmerizing Spirit is manageable because it's only 1. But this discards 2, and if you play several in a row, you can discard your entire hand, and that's just not very interesting gameplay. Making it 3, I think, makes it basically unplayable. You can't spend your 4th turn playing this. Like, if your opponent played a Ghoul or something, or like a Library Guards, you can't play this. Which makes this just basically crappy. And also, you can't play 2 in a row until you have 6 mana, which is gonna be tough. So basically, this card is not gonna be played, which I have absolutely no problem with, because I don't like this card. I don't like discarding cards en masse with this. Mesmerizing Spirit, I'm okay with. This, good riddance. Dread Knight gets a redesign. And the redesign is that rather than sending stuff to the back when he attacks, he immediately sends 2 creatures back when he comes in. And that's pretty cool. That means he can, like, send back annoying mutants or, like, big library guards or whatever. So, yeah, that's a nice little buff. I think overall this version is better because it has an immediate effect. And it can help you control the front row a little bit more. Whereas before you played it and then you have to then attack with it. Whereas here you play it, even if it gets killed somehow or helmed, then, okay, well, you've moved 2 creatures back. You've got some tempo with it, right? So, yeah. I think this is a very nice change. Now, are all these changes enough to make Corruption playable? I don't know, but it's something. A little push here, a little push there. Overall, is it a good patch? Well, let's see. Try Angelica, I'm neutral about. Militia is a good change. Silencer, bad change. Primordial Treant doesn't really do anything. Fae of Charm, I'm kind of torn because it's technically a good change, but at the same time, I'm going to miss my Hermelian deck. So I'm going to be neutral. Lizard Barbarian, bad change because it makes it very annoying in the mirror. Firebolt, good change. And Ramjack, good change, good change. I'm going to have to say good change because Chalice was annoying. Cataclysm, I'm indifferent. So really the only change I didn't like was Silencer and a Lizard, and most everything else is pretty good. So they could probably just reconsider the Lizard design, and the Silencer is going to be a tricky one, but I don't think it can stay this way. It looks ridiculous. Now, admittedly, because this is a more aggressive meta, yeah, sure, you know, playing this on curve is a little bit harder. But the thing is, if if you play this, or if you, okay, imagine the dream. Turn 1, nothing. Turn 2, Horizons. Turn 3, Horizons number 2. And then, you know, turn 4, you can't play, yeah, but then you can play turn 5, and then how much mana will your opponent have? 4? And then he can't do anything for like 2 turns, or 3 or 4 turns if he doesn't have a unicorn. You win the game. I mean, the design isn't terrible, but 4 to start seems ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. Could be 3, although that might not be enough, since it only actually denies 6 mana. Without actually, without card advantage, so... But then again, you draw a card afterwards, so... You don't even lose advantage yourself by playing this, so... Yeah. Oh well. We'll have to see. They might tweak this a little bit. But anyways, that's it for the video. I'll see you out there. By the way, I still think Advanced Neva is too good. It wasn't changed at all. I know that the meta is going to be faster, but consider this. Neva has plenty of early game options. All she has to do is add extra sharpshooters and maybe ambush strikes to deal with the early game. And more of those shrines that buff elves, and she can control the early game no problem. So, yeah. I think Neva is going to just dominate until they do something to her. Because Advanced Zash took a bit of a hit. Aggro in general took a hit, so it's going to be harder to rush her down. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but they're on the right track. They just need to polish up some things. Change the Silencer, the Lizard, and do something with Advanced Neva. And it will be fine. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope I have entertained you for a few minutes. And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.